Today I want to take a look at one of the most interesting players from the 2022 recruiting class. He was considered the highest ranked quarterback to sign in LSU in quite some time, was the #1 quarterback according to ESPN, and was supposed to be the guy to save LSU football and lead into the Brian Kelly era. That ended up becoming Jaden Daniels, and instead of Walker Howard becoming a superstar, he ended up sitting on the bench his first year. He never played at Ole Miss, and then once he went down to the group of 5 level, he ended up getting hurt and has only played in one game for the Cajuns. In today's video, I want to do a spotlight on the rise and fall of Walker Howard. He's a 5-star quarterback who is truly running out of time, and hopefully he can get things fixed, but for now, he looks to be in an interesting and a tough spot. Today we're going to talk about how he became a 5-star quarterback to begin with, his bizarre college journey so far, and what he can do to save his career. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you want to support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's go ahead and get started and talk about what happened to Walker Howard. So in order to understand how Walker got to this point, we first need to go back in time. His dad was a former LSU quarterback by the name of Jamie Howard, as he started 32 games over 4 years at LSU from 1992 to 1995, and also played professional baseball and was a second-round pick to the Atlanta Braves. He is currently 5th all-time in passing yards at LSU with nearly 6,200 yards, and 7th in touchdown passes with 34. This was at least a couple of years ago. His mom went there, his dad played there, and as a kid he went to all the LSU games, so he was definitely destined to be an LSU player at some point. The sport of football kept him and his mom extremely close, and she always thought he'd be so successful at it that he could play it at the college level. He was determined to live up to the hype, and as an 8th grader, he was starting to show a lot of promise and was going to start for his father's alma mater, St. Thomas More Catholic, which is located in Lafayette, Louisiana. Sadly, things would get difficult his freshman year, as his mother, Catherine, would end up passing away of cancer in September of 2018. It led to a change within his whole family, and he said he was going to keep pushing, that life could get hard, and he'd have to wake up every day and keep swinging. By that time, because of his father and because of how well he had done at camps, he was already a top 100 recruit before he was even a starter. He tore up the 7-on-7 world, and he was stuck behind Caleb Holstein, who would end up at Louisiana Tech. By the time Howard was the starting quarterback, he entered a situation with 2 future LSU wide receivers, one of which was just a walk-on, and the other one was Jack Besh. When he took over as a starter, he had already had 20 offers. They're planning on slowly easing him into the system. But quickly he became a local legend, put up crazy numbers, and all of a sudden was the man. There was one instance in which he even gave an autograph to the ref, and he came over to the sideline and asked if that was okay. There was a lot of pressure surrounding Walker Howard to win a state championship and to become the next big thing, and that's exactly what he would end up doing. He led St. Thomas More to their first undefeated state championship in their 34-year history, and he really started to blow up after that. He threw for 3,400 yards and 39 touchdowns that season, and only did that in 10 games. He was great in the pocket, was able to scramble away from pressure, and deliver a pass on the move. In August of 2021, he became the #1 ranked quarterback according to ESPN, and he said, quote, "It's very exciting to see that, but at the end of the day, rankings don't really mean much." Where is he going to end up going? Well, it was obvious. He pledged to play for LSU on June 20th of 2020, but then Notre Dame would throw a roadblock. Apparently, he had never visited another school for a game day experience, and the family wanted to see the Fighting Irish, so they would decide to visit them. LSU was aware of the visit, and some thought it could open the door, but that would not end up happening. He said, quote, "I've got my place at LSU, and they told me that they've had me as their guy the whole time, and that's the most important thing to me. That's my home for the next 4 or 5 years, and that's my family and the brothers I'm planning on going to war with. They have the best coaching staff in the country, and I'm trying to build the best class in the nation." His senior year, he was expected to be a superstar, but then it was hampered by an injury. His team was having a really bad game and a really bad night, and it looked like no matter what Walker tried, he was probably not going to be able to change the game. At the 5-yard line, he thought he could make a play, but then landed awkwardly and ended up breaking his fibula. This was absolutely terrible for him, and for the next 4 weeks, the coaches saw a new side of him. He sat with the backups, scooted around practice, and helped in any possible way he could. He said it showed how fast football could be taken away, and that it was a tough 5 weeks. In his first game back, he ended up throwing for over 500 yards, and in his final 2 seasons at St. Thomas More, he threw for 5,824 yards and 67 touchdowns. A fellow high school coach said, quote, "Walker was special. He's a true quarterback, and he can do it all. Run, throw, and he's accurate, and he had a huge impact on their success." He ended up signing with LSU, and was the highest rated Tigers signee in more than a decade. He He became the crown jewel of Brian Kelly's first LSU signing class, and everyone was talking about him. According to 24/7 Sports, Howard was a 4-star recruit, the number 6 quarterback, and the 91st best player in the class of 2022. So how would he end up doing in Baton Rouge? Well, let's take a look. Okay, so back in 2022 when Walker Howard arrived in Baton Rouge, he was most known for a pretty cringy video with Brian Kelly that went viral on social media, but he would quickly move past that and focus on being the 3rd-string quarterback. At the time, he was stuck behind both Jaden Daniels and Garrett Nussmeier, and he would definitely have his work cut out for him if he ever wanted to get on the field. During his true freshman season, he'd end up appearing in 2 total games. One of them, he had 3 carries against Southern, and the other was in their bowl game against Purdue, where he completed 2 of 4 passes. For his first season, he ended up having 7 yards passing and 33 yards rushing, and his time in Baton Rouge was already done. With Jaden Daniels returning for the 2023 season, and the same thing with Garrett Nussmeier, he would decide to enter the transfer portal. He said, quote, "As a kid, I always dreamed of playing at LSU. I never imagined being anywhere else. However, when things happen in life, we have to adjust and keep moving forward." One beat writer said the days of stockpiling quarterbacks was over, and that the only reason that schools do that is to figure out who is best. Then the coaches accept that the ones that don't win will likely leave, and while it's frustrating for fans, that's what happens when you're a 5-star or a blue-chip recruit. He'd potentially be waiting 3 years to see the field with no guarantee of winning the job, so he would decide to enter the portal. For some reason, he decided to stay in the SEC West and transfer over to Ole Miss. At the time, he only had 4 pass attempts and 6 rushes in his career, but there was plenty of material to judge on him based on his high school tape. His high school tape had plenty of wow plays, he had a great arm, and was seemingly an offensive coordinator's best friend, but Ole Miss had a 3-headed monster at quarterback. They already had returned Jackson Dart, and then they also grabbed Spencer Sanders, who was one of the best quarterbacks in Oklahoma State history, so those 2 are going to be the 1 and 2, and then Walker Howard would probably be 3rd. His time at Ole Miss was the same as at LSU, as he only played in 1 game in 2023 against Mercer, going 3 of 4 for 56 yards, and then Jackson Dart returned in 2024, and Austin Simmons was back, so that meant Walker played in 1 game, going 0 of 2 against Furman. Through his 2 years in Oxford, Walker Howard was once again not seeing the field, and in 3 seasons, he had just 63 total yards. He said, quote, "I honestly didn't think I was going to play football. But Caden Prescorn and Jackson Dart really helped me as they pushed me forward, and they made me go to every single meeting and all the extra meetings they did to watch film." He said he had truly thought about leaving the sport of football, and then this past offseason, he would decide to return home. University of Louisiana would need a new quarterback, and he said, quote, "It's good to be home. It feels great, and I'm glad to be with my family. For the first time in 3 years, football doesn't feel like a corporate enterprise, and it's back to being a game again for me." To not many surprise, Louisiana would eventually name the hometown hero their starting quarterback for the 2025 season, and Howard said, quote, "It was emotional. Him telling me it's been a long journey, and it's been tough, and I'm super excited that I'm here and that I'm back home and that there's a light at the end of the tunnel." He ended up beating out Daniel Beal and Lunch Winfield for the starting job, and he would make his first career start in their season opening game against Rice on August 30th. He had excited a lot of fans in their spring game, and the coaching staff was super excited for Walker to be a starter, and they said he went out and earned the starting job. Except, we did not have a storybook ending, as Walker Howard would play in just 1 game. He ended up having his first career touchdown on the ground, but he went 10 of 22 for 88 yards and an interception before he went down with an injury. It was late in the 4th quarter, as he made a 25-yard pass, and he apparently had a torn oblique injury. This is honestly totally devastating, as for a guy who has worked so hard, waited so much time, and given so much patience to the sport, it is really sad to see. They announced that he is now done for the season and he will have surgery, and Louisiana is without a big-time quarterback, but this honestly is heartbreaking. I know he has 1 more year of eligibility for sure, and I'm sure he'll also get a medical red shirt, but Walker Howard is running out of time. For a guy who was one of the highest-ranked quarterbacks to ever go to LSU and had the attention of every scout in America, he has not been able to really get going. He only has about 100 yards and 1 touchdown in 4 years. He's had a season-ending injury, and he's had to go to the Group of 5 level. He's a player I've been following for quite some time, and I want to see him succeed, so I hope he rehabs, gets back on the field, and dominates for Louisiana next year. I'm not sure if it'll happen, but that's the story of Walker Howard. But what do you guys think? If you're an LSU or an Ole Miss fan, why do you think Walker Howard never got on the field? If you're a Louisiana fan, how do you think he will do next season? And what other big-time recruit that hasn't panned out should I cover next? Be sure to let me know down below. Leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out one of the videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.